morning and thanks for joining us on our program today. A lot of stories, trending stories, beginning with Nigeria, Africa, and the rest of the world. I'm Keisha, and here we are.
I'm Elizabeth. I'm said, welcome to Daybreak Africa.
Good morning, Lizzie.
Good morning, Keisha.
You look amazing this morning, even though you said something that I woke up this morning not feeling like going out.
Yes, but here I am, and I'm glad to be here.
All right, so good morning. Good morning. How's it been? We had a talk yesterday, and we made a promise that we need to look out for specific Nigerians to really talk to other Nigerians what is really happening.
Right.
VIO, road safety, police, NEPA, they need to educate Nigerians more and more on the operations.
Yes.
Because you see the VIO checking police vehicles papers, you find road safety checking vehicle papers, you find police checking vehicle papers. Where are we? Then a lot of them like that.
Yeah, and I can tell you for free that they can be really very mean.
Okay.
Because they are meant to be there to, like, educate us, teach us, guide us.
Yeah.
But they get really very mean, and it's not nice.
And at this point, when we are calling up Nigerian leaders, politicians to be accountable, to be transparent, then we ask ourselves, are we really justified? Because when we find this set of people acting the way they are acting, then you let them be, and you are calling on other leaders to really do something about it.
I wonder.
I just feel that we're not justified with that. We need to call them to.
Let's just leave it there, Keisha, for
right.
now.
All right. Good morning, viewers, and thanks for joining us today. Once again, this is a program where we talk about trending stories. Like I said, and this morning we'll begin with newspaper review, trending stories all around the world, beginning with Nigeria. And we have amazing personalities right here on set with us today to really dish out some of the stories to let us know what their views are on the subject matters that will be coming up today. Please join me as we welcome great personality Nigerians who really have Nigeria in their mind, in their heart, to make sure that they get the ears of the society, even if they can't change it, but they can always speak up to let us know which is right and which is wrong. All right, please join me as we welcome the first person on my far right. I'm talking about Mr. Patrick Wamambu. It's good to have you here, sir.
Thank you very much, viewers. It's my pleasure to be here.
All right, and next to him is Mr. Paul Obi, a media consultant, public affairs analyst, and so many to talk about, Mr. Paul. But we'll get to see more of these guys as we proceed. It's good to have you here.
Thank you very much. I'm glad to be here.
All right.
Thank you.
Let me begin. Mr. Paul, how is the political arena in Nigeria? You're a Nigerian and you've seen the handwritings, you've seen a lot of stories and narratives. Are we making progress?
We are making progress, so to say, because elections are essential ingredients of democracy. They are the pillars of democracy, and Nigeria is moving to like almost the 5th or 7th set of general elections since the return of democracy in 1999. And this season of election that is going to take place in February and March 2023 is going to be very critical in the sense that this is a transition that started, let's say, from 2015, where an incumbent president lost election, and then somebody else came in the person of President Muhammadu Buhari. Is by May 29, 2023, he will be leaving office after 8 consecutive years. Right. Now, other candidates have come out. We are not having an incumbent who is running. So the political atmosphere is clear. But what has happened is that we have returned to 1979, where the 3 major tribes ran elections at the presidential level. So the country is tense. The political atmosphere is very combative as it is. And the campaigns have already kick-started. So we look forward to seeing a very fierce and tense elections in 2023. And from the report we are getting from campaigns and other things that have coming up and all those things. Right. Then one critical aspect that is going to define this election, will Nigerians be able to scrutinize the candidate very well and make critical decisions that will shape the country for a better society ahead of 2023.
So do you think ethnicity is going to have a big role to play? You just mentioned that we have the 3 major tribes as candidates.
Briefly, yes, ethnicity is going to play a role. Tinubu is coming from the southwest, that is the Yorubas. Peter Obi is coming from the Igbo and Labour Party. And then Atiku is coming from the northeast. And then Kwankwaso also. Previously, since the return of democracy, we've only had 2 horse race elections between one party, between the opposition and the ruling party. But in this time, we have a 3 horse race between Labour Party, and you may even say 4 race with Kwankwaso.
Okay, let's quickly hear from Mr. Patrick. What's your view on political activities in Nigeria now? Let's just have a rundown of your views on that.
Okay, it's said that the worst civilian administration is better than the best military regime. I believe we should be grateful that we're practicing civilian democracy. We may not be there yet because it's a borrowed form of government that we're practicing. And the irony of it all is that even from the climes where we borrowed this from the Western democracies, they also have their challenges. Things are not the way they should be. It will be difficult for anybody to convince me that what we have is practice of true democracy.
Right.
But we're tinkering with it, and we're happy that at least we have some of the futures of civilian democracy, which I said earlier, that the worst civilian democracy is better than the best military regime.
Okay.
So we'll get there. We'll get there.
Okay. All right. Viewers, it's going to be amazing. And we first of all would like to look at the newspapers, the trending stories, and don't forget that. And our next segment will be talking about ensuring that we have, is my responsibility, is your responsibility to have a free, fair, and credible election comes 2023. And what can we do? What are the factors? What can we do to really get to that atmosphere? Lizzie, before we get to our talk, talk here, we have something amazing. In fact, I've been so happy about this very one. You know, Nigerians are wonderful people, but we seems not to be having value for the potentials that we have. Until you leave the shores of Nigeria, you don't have a value. Not because you don't know yourself, but because the system in Nigeria has not made provision for your value to be seen. So we have like over 8 Nigerians, Nigerian Americans who ran for the midterm elections in the U.S. and won. So I'm so happy about this. We have a lot of
Nigerians are doing well. They are doing great abroad.
Yeah. So
in the military, in the government, in governance, all other countries. Yeah.
Now the question is that why can't we see the potentials in us back home?
Honestly, it's sad. Is it really that they are not seeing the potentials, or is it because the leaders that we have refused to allow the younger ones come into leadership?
And you're talking about the younger ones. I bet you I saw these people. They are all young people.
Right.
Yeah, they're all young people,
exactly.
Young Nigerians. I don't know. Well, maybe there's something. The next administration will recognize the potentials in young people regarding this in Nigeria.
After the signing of the not too young to run, right?
Yeah, but too young to lead.
Right, but we are not seeing much. All the candidates, the presidential, most of them they are old. They are still the same old faces that we know. I'm not that hardly. I haven't seen any new face, any young person.
Then in Maryland, we have the first black governor. He's also a young person, elected. So 44 years, 44 years, or about 44 years. I think it's time for Nigerians to really look to see what we need to do regarding.
I saw this young lady, this young Nigerian lady, I think a general in the US Army. online was like, okay, she was encouraging Nigerians that they had the intention.
Okay, Azubike.
Exactly.
Azubike.
Yeah.
All right.
If I might interject, I think the problem is in these climes is that we build individuals instead of institutions. By the time we begin to place more emphasis on developing institutions, I think we'll get there. In those climes where you have cited, you find that Nigerians living here and going over there, they excel because the institutions make it possible. The system makes it possible for them to excel, to project their potentialities.
Maximize their potentials.
Vis-a-vis what you have back home here. The system in most cases encumbers people from displaying their potentialities. And when you have such a scenario, it becomes difficult for you to even project yourself.
Okay.
We have had cases of people. I remember the ICT guru Naji, Professor Naji, that came over here. What was his contribution? What were his contributions? This is a man that has excelled overseas, coming here, and he couldn't really do much. So sometimes the system in this climb really prevents people from projecting themselves to the fullest.
Okay.
That's basically the issue.
How far can the youths go? How far can the young people go if we continue like this, the way we are? That's why you see the youth running away from the country.
Basically, one other factor you have to consider is that Nigeria, the crisis that is bedeviling Nigeria is state capture.
Okay.
The elite conspiracy. And it's very deep. And it is foundational. Like my colleague said, it's institutional. The system has so much emasculated everybody in such a way that it's difficult to disentangle them for the youth to come out. If you want to do anything, the state structure, the systemic process of governance will always inhibit you, will always be an obstacle to you. So, and the chances of even uprooting this elite conspiracy is very difficult because once you want to do it, they retreat back to ethnicity and religious sentiment. So it's very difficult. Any society. So individually, personally, I believe that religion and tribalism are more dangerous or have been more monstrous to Nigeria than even corruption itself. Corruption is everywhere, but the chances of even coming up to punish when somebody commits a crime is always there in other societies. But in our societies, when somebody commits a crime or you prevent or you commit anything wrong, they always retreat back to ethnicity. These factors, Nigeria is a state capture, is suffering from state capture, and the crisis of tribalism and religion are also contributing to the crisis we are facing, and the youth have been rendered redundant.
Okay, to answer your question, what must be the youths do? The youths must continue to forge ahead, to press for their say, for them to be heard. If you look at the antecedents leading up to the not too young to run bill, you see that a number of youths, influencers, really pushed for that bill. And so it's not just enough having the bill, they must continue to trudge on. We were told that close to a large number, millions, about 70 millions or thereabouts, of youths registered in the recently concluded voters registration exercise. It's not just enough for them to register. They must remember that on election days, they come out and then make their voices heard through the ballot boxes. That's one way by which they can effect a change in the system.
So they have to be consistent with their push.
They have to be consistent and then walk the talk, as it were.
Okay. So Nigerian youths actually need the staying power, because most time when you get to a particular level, you can't get what you're looking for, the backup easily. So they have that ability to stay on it and work on it and keep pushing until we have that victory. And
I might add, through a non-violent means. We don't want a recap of the NSAS occasion, what happened at in Lagos.
But do you think the NSAS violence, was it the youth? Was it caused by the youth? Because the youth occupied that place for some days before the violence. The violence actually erupted when the government interfered.
Right.
Those guys, they were there for some days. So I'm just
thinking. And they were at peace. While
they were at peace.
They
were just a music concert and the rest. And do you think the youth have this? For them to come up with violence or anything, you must always have government interference.
I think you have a point, but we should also remember that youths are associated with exuberance. And when you have exuberance being displayed, you know, anything could happen. You could have vehicles being smashed. You could even have situations where such gatherings could get out of hand. Molestations of innocent people and all that. We're not placing the blame on them, but we just hope that they keep pushing in a non-violent manner.
Okay, thank you so very much. All right, we've been talking about trending stories, and we keep talking and we keep pushing till we get to see the Nigeria of our dream. All right, let's get to see some of the newspapers we have today and find out what the papers are saying this morning. And of course, let's quickly look at Daily Asset. Daily Asset has a very wonderful trending stories that you would love to really look at this morning. Thugs attacked Atiku convoy in Maduguri. That was yesterday. And looking at that, we have a report here. Report false from police. And then the next one here says Atiku's teams moves to Nasarawa State today. All right, this is really important to us, Mr. Patrick and Mr. Paul, and we need to also look at this very well. Talks attacks Atiku's convoy in Maduguri. What do you make of this? Let me quickly get to you, Mr. Paul.
Okay, Borno State is a very strategic state in terms of electioneering.
Right.
And there have been issues, critical issues, with the outcome of elections in Borno State. Yeah. APC is doing very well in Borno State. Governor Babagana Zulum is there and is still going to run also. And the vice presidential candidate of the All Progressive Congress, Kasim Shetima, is from there. So the stakes are high in Borno State. And Atiku Abubakar, the presidential candidate of the People's Democratic Party, is from the northeast, is from nearby Adamawa State. Yeah. So there is context. There is context that might even get to the point of being combative. So his entourage, like was reported, was believed to have been attacked, though part of the media team of the Atiku campaign council have come out to say about 74 persons were injured and in the hospital. How factual is that? And what are the empirical evidence to pinpoint that that incident got to that extent of 74 people being injured? Also, there were cases or videos that have been shown by other media establishments that indicate our youth and some thugs were peltering stones and sticks on the convoy. It could be APC thugs, it could be just normal thugs in the city, it could be either party internal wranglings. But the police cannot just come out and say that there was no violence. They should provide clear-cut evidence. They should present the case as it is and not just sweep the whole thing under the carpet. That is my belief. Yeah. But another important point also is that we need to be careful the way we go about this 2023 elections campaign. We need to imbibe peaceful atmosphere and very cordial relationship and not violence. Violence will not take it anywhere. It will disrupt the democratic process that have been set in motion.
Okay, Mr. Patrick, don't you think it was rather too early at the point at which the Borno State police came out to deny the attack on the PDP?
I think it was rather hasty for the police to have come out and make that statement. One would have expected them to, at this period, be investigating because there are two sides to the coin, as it were. You have the PDP campaign team saying the convoy was attacked, and the Borno State government saying no, it's false. I would like to remind us that these are really political times, and during these periods, anything could happen. It's possible. I, as an independent analyst, would be seen as being partisan if I were to take sides to say, to confirm that the PDP campaign team was attacked, because I wasn't on ground. I was not there, and I would just say we should know that these are political times and anything could happen. For all you know, it may have been stage managed. Even the party in question could have stage managed it. Also, it's possible that it came from the party in power there, the APC. It's a sorry issue, actually, because this is not what we want during this period. The political parties signed an accord, and one would have expected that both those who were not there and their proxies, their representatives, would have drummed home the essence of that accord. Right. That we want a non-violent, peaceful process. This is not the kind of thing we want.
Okay, do you think that most time when this peace accord, the parties involved sign, do you think they pass the same message to their supporters?
Under normal circumstances, they should pass, but it remains to be seen if the message, the essence of signing the accord, the peace accord, is passed to the supporters. But be that as it may, the political parties, I don't really know whether they are into educating their followers on the need to ensure a non-violent, peaceful process, because it's not just campaigning for votes and election. They are also supposed to be involved in education, educating their followers. So if this is done, I think the culture of education of the masses regarding conduct, peaceful conduct during elections, leaves much to be desired. We're yet to get there, but I believe that with time we would get there.
Okay, still on this same newspaper, we have a report on the front page on that daily asset here, which say Nigerians' public debt stock rises to 42.8 trillion in 2022. This is really wonderful, and we also have it that the next year budget is also going to be something to talk about regarding borrowing the money to make up the budget. Mr. Paul, this is wonderful.
Wonderful?
Yeah. How do I describe that? This is really wonderful.
It's very disheartening that our debt level is increasing
by the day,
astronomically.
Right.
And it portends great danger for us that, in fact, there have been some calculations that have been made in such a way that almost like 10th of our generations that are going to come ahead are going to pay some of this debt that have been incurred by the Buhari administration. It's very sad and alarming. And more so, I think the presidential candidate of the Labour Party, Mr. Peter Obi, have always been making this argument that if you're borrowing, you don't borrow to pay salaries.
And you don't borrow to consume.
You don't borrow to consume. You borrow for infrastructural development. And basically, we cannot measure that or ascertain whether this budget have been squarely earmarked for infrastructural development. It's very sad. Most of those budget is for like recurrent expenditure, which is very sad for Nigeria. And even the World Bank have also cautioned Nigeria in terms of how we manage our debt profile. And that has also given us a very bad perception in the global finance sector in terms of assessing public finance at the global level. But I think it's very sad.
Unfortunately, the government does not think it has gotten to that level where it's beyond You know?
That is what the finance minister and the government officials have been trying to portray. We're told that it's still debt profile is still within the internationally accepted level.
So they can go for more and more.
But that is very difficult to swallow, in the sense that what we are saying is that if you must borrow, they should be for capital projects. That's what we want to see. And from all indications, one has not really seen the essence of all these borrowings. And indications are like we have been saying, indications are like that so many of our generations yet unborn are going to have to take possession of, you know, the facility of paying for these loans. Borrowing is not totally bad, but it should be for the right reason. But it should be for capital projects or projects that could yield dividends.
Right.
Okay, but do you think with this action where the present administration took us to on our debt profile now, is that not enough for Nigerians to say, this administration, you've not done well, you have no business with Nigerian politics, we have no business with Nigerian presidency? Because I saw here where some of their language in their campaign here, you get to hear like APC is talking of redeeming Nigerians from APC hands.
The question you should ask yourself is, in Nigeria, are political campaigns issue-based?
Right.
Are they issue-based?
Right.
If they were issue-based, then you could be reasoning that way.
Okay.
The masses don't really look at issues. They don't look at them from that perspective that you're trying to portray. It's been said that a lot of people are interested, a lot of the masses are interested in stomach infrastructure.
That's
what's going to bring us.
Exactly. But the APC presidential candidate, Bola Ahmed Tinubu, says is going to continue from where the President Buhari has stopped.
Beyond the issue of stomach infrastructure, like I've always projected, the fact is that our democracy, our society is hinged on ethnicity and tribalism. Now, in most sane societies, like in the American midterm elections, you just see clear issues that are defining how people are voting.
Right.
1, economy. 2, inflation. 3,
security.
Abortion. 4, crime. 5th, what's it called? Abortion. And then immigration also. How people are coming into America. But in Nigeria, you cannot have that kind of conversation. We lack the rational conversation, like Jogan Habermas will say. The rational conversation that need to define society in terms of what do we really need as a people. But people are not engaging in this conversation because it is like, oh, to your tent, Israel. Like Tinubu who said, it is my turn. Atiku who said, the North should go for him because he's a northerner. And other people will say, it is our turn, let us take this thing. So there's that lack of conversation. In such a society, you don't have citizens or voters scrutinizing, critically examining the candidate. What you have is from my place, he shares my language, he shares my religion, my faith. Or I have something like my colleague said, stomach infrastructure. What is coming for me, not for the general well-being of the society. I think that is a very critical crisis that will continue to bedevil Nigeria as the time goes, unless we are able to plug off those challenges. One strategic way to plug off those challenges is 1, reduction of poverty. 2, education. Once people are taken away from poverty, and then they are not ignorant, they are well educated and well informed, they will be able to make critical independent decisions in elections. Otherwise, the situation will continue.
Okay. Let's take a look at the next headline, which is the Nigeria Tribune. The major headline on the Nigeria Tribune says the G5 governors have not closed door against reconciliation, said Wike. It says the autumn recants apologizes over comments on Fulani. G5 plans different from mine, but I feel their pain, says Bauchi State Governor. Mr. Patrick.
The issue regarding the governor of the G5 governors,
yeah.
and the PDP is taking a dangerous dimension, if I might say so, in the sense that this is a political party that is supposed to be playing a very credible role as the opposition.
Right.
I don't see where this is leading to. They might have their, the G5 might have their strategy. I'm not a politician, but like what the great philosopher Aristotle said, man is by nature political. So I am also political by nature. But I don't see where this is leading to. I was expecting that the PDP would have gotten its acts together, irrespective of what is playing out, and then try to, and the leader of the party himself has a lot to do. His role as the leader of the party should be seen at instances like this, at such occasion. I don't see what is difficult in him trying to bring his fellow members together. Say, look guys, enough of this, we have gone so far with this, let's sit down at a round table and sort this thing out. Until that is done, this will continue to happen. Okay. But happily, Governor Wike has said that they are still open to reconciliation. How that is going to be achieved, I don't know. I've seen in some instances where we're told that the PDP is pushing for the former president of the country, Goodluck Jonathan, to intercede for them, intervene and try and ensure that the G5 is brought into the mainstream of things. We just pray that that happens so that we can really have a balanced, electioneering campaign. Okay. Because the way it's going, I don't see the PDP making any headway indeed. Forthcoming elections.
So, Mr. Paul,
the House divided against
itself.
Itself cannot stand.
Autumn's apology to the Fulanese.
First, on the general issue of the G5 governors and the PDP, basically, if you have the fact and you have followed the trajectory of the crisis, I do not think they will ever come together or reconcile, considering the fact that there's great vexation in the South, in the two geopolitical zones of the Southeast and the South-South, having sustained the party for so many years, and then Atiku and his group have not been, they were not instrumental in sustaining PDP. So naturally you have that vexation, I think is there. And then what transpired in the PDP primaries, Atiku picking the ticket, and then the national chairman of the PDP refusing to relinquish that power, that chairmanship to the South. All this have culminated to create the crisis.
And up till today, the chairman is still coming out with strong words.
He is
still in Nobody has the rights.
So all those factors will not, and I do not think Wike and some of the southern governors, I don't know of Sheyi Makinde, and though Otom has shown it clear, and Benue people have also shown those signposts. I do not think most of those Southeast governors or South, particularly Wike, will go back to the South and say they will support. They will not support PDP if you are following the fact. Then in the case of Otom, I think that was going overboard. Yes, he may have grievance with Fulanis in terms of the Fulani headers attacks that have taken place in Benue State for a long period of time, for like almost 7-8 years now. They have been facing that attack. And then they have also gone ahead to enact a law. Yes, quite okay. But I think the atmosphere in which he made that comment was uncalled for. But he can play the politics of not supporting Atiku. But to go ahead and generalize it and cap it Fulanis and all those things was...
You don't think he spoke out of frustration?
Yes, definitely. He might have spoke. He spoke out of frustration. In fact, if you watch the video, you could see anger in him and all that. They spoke out of frustration. But it's good he has tendered apology maybe to the Fulani tribe in Nigeria, so to say. But another thing again is that the statement he made in terms of insecurity and the killings of people in Benue State, that should be taken cognizance of in terms of the security apparatus that the federal government is fully in control. So these are things, we are in election season, so we need to manage our conversation our campaign messaging and what we say, and then ultimately the security aspect as well.
The situation is not irredeemable.
Right.
And luckily, it's not irredeemable. And luckily, Governor Wike has given us the green light that he's still open to negotiations. It is now incumbent on the leader of the party, Atiku Abubakar, to wade in. He may have made some moves, but to whom much is given, they say much is expected. If he really wants to make the ticket, become the president of Nigeria in 2023, win the presidential elections, he has to do more by bringing the House together, calling all the warring parties to a round table, and then ensure that this is sorted out. Happily also, he's an old horse. He's a well-tested politician. But this should be like a walk in the park to him.
Okay.
Please, let me try to differ a little bit. In 2019, right, Atiku had like almost 7 million votes from the south. He couldn't garner up to about 3.5 million in the north where he comes from. So we can sit here and project this thing could be amended easily or hastily as it is now. But at the root of the crisis is great anger that is within the Wike camp and his men and other governors, the G5 governors. And not only just Wike, across the streets, they were reporting in Akwa Ibom State. Yes, the Akwa Ibom State governor is the chairman of the PDP campaign council. How has they been, when have they been able to co-opt Atiku into the Akwa Ibom State? I tell you, in most of those South states, I don't know of Delta, but the rest of the South state, it has been very difficult for the governorship or the senatorial candidate to put Atiku pictures in their posters while they're campaigning.
Yeah, that is true because
these are things. I'm from Cross River State. Right. The governorship candidate of the PDP and all the senatorial candidates in the state have not been tagging along with Atiku in the campaign. So these are signposts, clear, and you cannot disapprove them.
Okay,
which supports my viewpoint that the onus lies on the presidential candidate himself to try and put in more efforts to
I'll very quickly, it beats my imagination. The governor of Bauchi State, Bala Mohammed, came out with some displeasures about the PDP presidential aspirant, Atiku Abubakar. Less than 24 hours, he visited him and sorted whatever it was he had with him out, right? Why is it so difficult for him to meet with Wike and the G5 governors and sort whatever it is that the grievances that they have?
Like I said earlier, these are political times, right? And those involved are old horses. They have treaded these paths for a couple of years now. They know what they are dealing with, but I still believe that the situation is not irredeemable. At the right time, I'm not a spokesman of PDP, but I believe that if the presidential candidate really wants to become the president of Nigeria, to win the 2023 presidential elections, I believe he should have one or two tricks up his sleeve.
Right. So he has a lot of homework to do.
He still has to do more. He may have done some homework, but he still has to do more. Okay. The G5 is not unapproachable. Right. Like I said earlier, there have been talks in the grapevine that President Goodluck Jonathan is being lobbied or is about to be lobbied to come into the. We don't know. It's not in the public domain that he has left the PDP, so he can still play a fatherly role there if he's approached, and the presidential candidate of the PDP knows what to do. Okay. To put an end to this.
All right, that was a very great one. It's been an amazing time having this great personality. I'm talking of Mr. Patrick and Mr. Paul right here, talking on trending stories on the Nigerian political arena. We'll be going on a short break, and we'll return from there. We'll see how these narratives can actually take us into having a very wonderful, credible, free and fair elections in Nigeria, because the next election is going to determine the future of Nigeria. If we are going to be a people together, a people of unity, this 2023 will determine that. Don't go away. We'll be back shortly.
Okay, as 2023 general elections they come, we get only like 3 to 4 months to reach 2023 elections. Now we want to know who come on street to know what people expect from these politicians. What they want these politicians make they do for we, so that this Nigeria go dey conducive for us. Come, make we go hear what people will talk.
That P2B I go like, so that because that man now only governor will leave treasure for about 74 billion. He leave am for government treasure for Anambra State. You know easy, oh, I swear to God. You know easy, oh, you know easy. Food go dey yafu. If this man come, see, people will be say that they owe gratuity. People wey dey teach for their state. No only Lagos State they don't pay since, but people wey dey stay like my mama na teacher, they never pay am gratuity. At the verse, I for see the money say I use and start something doing now. See, I be graduate, I no get job. Which kind of thing be that one now? Me I go school, or forget how they speak grammar like this. You understand? But me you know I dey speak on layman language. Make everybody dey understand them. Make we vote well, vote for the right person. Make everybody chop well, smile well, everywhere go good. You understand? Kasmiado don't come abeg. The promises make they do. If they talk, make they do am. You understand? The only person wey me I dey see as a prophet is a man of God. Me I dey see Peter Obi. Na Peter Obi me I see well. Peter Obi.
Anybody wey go do better, when hungry no go dey, work e go dey. We like that one. Anybody.
So which kind of thing again you dey expect from the person wey go come sit down for the seat for president next time?
Atiku.
What do you want make he do for you?
Make he bring, make he work, he go dey, money go dey, hungry no go dey.
The next person, they need to at least know the kind of things Nigeria wants, all those things, ask questions, so that they can know what they want. For example now, look at Buhari, he does not even know about us, only the people around him. So, just say that, for example now, may they at least get knowledge about us. All those understanding, they should try to express everywhere so that they can know about us.
Okay. Now you don't dey ready for the election?
Yeah.
Are you ready? You have a PVC?
No, not yet. I'm making out for the PVC.
Alright.
Democracy, you want of people and by the people, or government by a majority of people. So we need a good government, a good governors that will govern Nigeria, because we are in Nigeria. I preferred both PDP, APC, and other parties to come up for presidency, so we can elect an eligible person. So I need the intellectual people, those who will fear God and who can serve the public better in a good position. And we need also aristocracy. You know, in form of government, aristocracy is the best government, the best citizens that rules. So we need the best citizen of Nigeria in terms of behavior, in terms of religious, in terms of good behavior. So that's what I need and others need. We need better life, good health, pipe-borne water. Those who are in rural area, pipe-borne water, electricity, all the storage facilities that deserves.
We want price of things to reduce, especially transportation is high. We want it to reduce, scarcity of fuel everywhere. We want food to be available, everything is cost. So we want government to do something about it, about school. Education is very important, issue of ASU and other things. We want government to do something about it so that Nigeria can be better.
Most of them say they want good school, good road, good government wey go lead us for this 2023 election. So they advise everybody, make they come out with their PVC 2023 election to vote for the right person, so that everywhere go dey conducive for us to live in. My name still remains Chichi Osisiago, TVN News, Abuja.
All right, it's good to have you back on our program, Daybreak Africa, on Television Nigeria. We have these amazing personalities talking about the stories. You know, Lizzie, before the break, we're looking at, majorly looking at the PDP issues and the challenges, you know, within the political party. And listening to our guest, there's something, I think there's something hidden somewhere, because I don't see President Goodluck Jonathan, former president of Nigeria, coming to solve their problem. Because during the break, I listened to Mr. Patrick making a remarkable statement that there's something that probably everyone needs to really do, homework they need to do on themselves.
Right.
Probably maybe pride, maybe supporters, you know, this kind of...
I actually do sense a lot of pride.
Okay.
I think from the former vice president, like I had asked.
Okay.
I didn't see any reason why it took time for him to have sorted out issues with the Bauchi state governor, and that with the G5 specifically, Wiki has taken like almost.
Still hanging.
And also the PDP, the party chairman here should also, because Atiku is not going to back out to say, okay, I'm not going to contest for election because you are the party chairman. Rather, you as the party chairman relinquish your power based on your agreements that you people.
No, but Atiku had made it clear that he doesn't have such intentions of allowing Ayu go, and he also made a statement that he had moved on.
Okay, let's get back to Mr. Patrick and get some ideas, opinion again on that.
Actually, what we know that is in the public domain is that it may not be easy for the presidential flag bearer to just come out and tell the party chairman to relinquish his position. You would understand or agree with me that there are guidelines within the parties for there might be a need for a convention to be convened, you know, and then elections and all that. But like I said earlier, the issue is not irredeemable. Right. What the presidential flag bearer needs to do is to call all the warring parties to a round table. He may have, you know, done one or two things before, but he needs to really, you know, bring out his joker. Right. Every leader should have a joker in their arsenal. He should bring out his joker this time. Really show us that, look, you are ready to take up the position of the president of the country if you win in 2023. You should be able to sort this out, and then spare us and the teaming supporters of this imbroglio, hula baloo about this today, that tomorrow. Right. Sort out this so that they can really take their rightful place as the leading opposition party.
Okay, before we get to the next discussion, Mr. Poor, we listened to Mr. Governor Wike of Rivers State saying that, okay, he's been there, you know, in PDP, and they stood with the PDP to come all the way to this point, and you have few persons that they don't know their contribution to the party coming up to make decisions that, okay, he's not ready to sit down and watch them destroying his reputation and his, you know, his investment in the political party. I don't know how justified that can be.
Right.
Empirically, if you look at the fact or the trajectory that the PDP has evolved since it's lost power in 2015, that is very true. That is very that can be proven because Wike was the one that was very instrumental in financing the party, sustaining the party, going to court to even redeem the party from collapse when this Ali Modu Sharif wanted to completely crush the party. And a lot of the folks that are at the helms of affairs today, like the Atiku group, were not inside. They were not inside. These are facts. These are not mere speculations or rumor or misinformation or fake news, to say. So I think that is the crux of the matter. I think that is what is propelling the anger of the G5 governors in terms of contributing enormously to the sustenance or sustainability of the PDP, and then at the end of it, they are not the decision makers. It's understandable, it's politics. I think Wike also did not play his politics well also, by throwing himself into the ring as a presidential contestant, whatever outcome that came up.
So it's also possible that some of the actions, some of the reactions we're getting from him now probably may be as a result of him not getting to the presidential bid.
That is also part of it.
All right.
That is also part of it. I think that is also natural. That is nature in human. But how the PDP leadership, the presidential candidate, are able to manage it alongside with the Wike group also matters a lot. But clearly, from the way it has gone, it will be very difficult for them to reconcile.
All right.
But like you also mentioned, the position of the former president, Goodluck Jonathan. The question you need to ask is, what are the feelers in the South in terms of Atiku being the presidential candidate? What are the feelers in the Southeast in terms of Atiku being the presidential candidate? And what is the body language of Jonathan ever since from 2015 to 2000? It has been completely detached from PDP without making comment, without coming out to speak about it. He has been detached from the party. He doesn't attend the event. He has been handling some diplomatic missions and miseries across the world.
Is he still a member of the PDP at all?
He has not said he's not a member.
Not.
But like the position of a former president in the party ought to come with some participatory engagement.
Right.
We've not seen that with Jonathan. So it's very critical. That is the critical statement itself. So will Jonathan be able or willing? And how about the support base of Jonathan? Would they be friendly or open to Jonathan taking that job in terms of reconciling Atiku and Wike? In fact, if you look across the online platforms, you get to see that it is payback time to Atiku. Atiku was responsible for PDP losing the 2015 presidential elections and conniving with the APC. So these are facts. These are not. Just
that is going to give us a different dimension.
So
to this
people say it's deja vu.
Yeah. So these are facts. These are clear facts.
The issue regarding the contribution of Nyesom Wike to the PDP, trying to sustain the PDP financially and otherwise, is well grounded. Personally, I empathize with him because considering all that he has done, financial-wise and otherwise, this is not the kind of treatment you expect, you know, to be meted out to such a man. But what we're talking about falls within the realm of morality, values. But you may want to ask yourself, does the average Nigerian politician consider issues about morality and values, integrity, honesty, and all that? So I expect him to know that he cannot expect that because he has done so much for the party
so
that they should reciprocate his gestures. We all remember the role late Alex Ekweme played in bringing together. Actually, they were known as G34 or something. Bringing together the emergence of the PDP in the country. Despite all that, did he end up becoming the president of Nigeria then? It was someone else that came and took the position. So I would want to appeal to Nyesom Wike to really be, you know, be magnanimous enough in his loss, as it were, because somebody who has sunk so much financial wise and otherwise, this is not the kind of thing you expect to get from his party members. But he should be magnanimous in his loss, and luckily he has years ahead of him. Nobody says that in the next couple of years he cannot attain whatever he desires for himself at the pinnacle of the Nigerian political scene.
Well, thank you so very much, Mr. Patrick and Mr. Paul. Lizzie, we're looking at having
free and
fair election comes 2023.
Yes. And I have worries.
You have worries?
Yes.
I'm not expecting you to have worries.
I do. Actually do too.
Okay. What are your worries now?
Looking at
is one of the leading giants in Nigeria.
It's worrisome. Okay. Yesterday it happened yesterday in Borno State.
Right.
And it's not just limited to Borno State. It's some parts of the southeast. There are complaints also.
So your worries now is based on
violence.
Violence.
Yes. And this will make this will not make us achieve the free and fair elections that we seek, that we desire.
Okay.
Nobody would know that when they go out there, they are not safe. Nobody will want to go out to either cast their votes, or probably rallies are going on and the campaigns for you to come out to support your candidate, your choice candidates.
Okay, let's get back to our guest. 2015. How free and fair was 2015, Mr. Patrick? Have we been able, for the past few years as a democratic country, have we been able to pick out elections to say this was actually
after
right
that of Abiola?
Have we been able to?
Of the SDP then?
The issue is that you cannot do away with violence. You can't extricate violence from politics for obvious reasons. Look at other parts of the world. We all saw what happened in the U.S. Their last election.
Presidential election.
In fact, the Congress was invaded, by those who were thought to be sympathetic to the former President
Donald Trump. Yeah.
So the case is still being revisited, using the legal jurisdiction that they have over there. The unfortunate thing is that even though you might have some degree of violence in politics, it shouldn't be that massive. We shouldn't go back to the period of what they call the Operation Wet Year in those days in the Southwest, or even the violence of the Abiola period. And after all these years, which takes me back to what I said earlier, the point I made, that the political parties do not appear to be doing enough of political education.
Right.
They should complement the efforts of government agencies like the electoral commissions that we've had over the years, INEC, the National Orientation Agency. Right. Because when you educate your followers, most of what we're talking about, the violence we are talking about, are not perpetrated by the elites. It is their followers. It's not the politician. They just delegate their followers to go do this, and then some of these unenlightened, uneducated Ushins just go out and commit the damage. So there is a need for massive political education, of the electorate, so that we'll be able to bring down the level of what we are seeing. I was watching a program on AIT this morning and listening to the National Human Rights Commission. We're talking about coming into the AFRE, to educate voters. It is commendable. You have also the religious leaders in churches and mosques, the priests, the bishops, the imams. There's a lot of work to be done. Now, when you educate the masses, it's like teaching people, what to do and not to do. It will check these excesses that we are seeing, this violence that is playing out.
Okay, Mr. Paul, what's your view on that? Because from all indications, we're looking at free and fair election, and of course, Lizzie said she's already afraid about what the results that we'll be expecting, or that we're going to have from the 2023 general election.
Due to violence.
Yeah, I think the violence has always defined some or most of our elections, right from history, like the Southwest crisis, 1960s crisis of Operation Wheatie, and in 2011 also we saw one of the most deadliest electoral violence in Nigeria, where even core members were killed and all that. With an attempt by the Electoral Commission, the Independent National Electoral Commission, to imbibe technology. So the dynamics of violence, election violence, is definitely going to change. Like I've highlighted earlier on, there's going to be an attempt to suppress voters, engage in voter suppression, manufacture violence that ordinarily shouldn't have been, in order to downplay the stronghold of your opponent and all that. These are the factors that are going to come into force. I see Lagos being tense in terms of violence. I see also part of the North, and then even Delta. Delta also, Rivers, these are states, Enugu, Imo also, these are states that you can add one or two or subtract one or two, and then
you're leaving your state out, Cross River State, where you have the PDP in power all these years, and suddenly the governor left for APC, and it looks as if nobody's actually working with him.
I'm not going to leave Cross River because the only challenge we'll have in Cross River is the Northern Senatorial District election, where the governor is running and the incumbent senator, who is PDP. Yeah. But there's likely going to be more violence in the governorship election in Cross River, but not at the presidential level. The senatorial election in the North might create room for violence, because the governor is hell-bent in returning to the Senate after his 8 years as governor. And then the incumbent senator who is there, also wants to return. So these are the challenges we will have in Cross River. But at the presidential level, I don't see Cross River with so much stake, like in the case of Delta, where the governor is a vice presidential nominee for the PDP, and then you have the deputy senate president, Omar Agege, in the other senatorial districts. These are clashes that we are likely to see in some of these states.
Okay, Lizzie, this is where we need to also have some discussion on we're looking at taking someone like the governor of Cross River State, Benedict Ayade, who actually became the senator, and he couldn't finish the term, and later on he ran for governorship, and he became the governor of Cross River State for 8 years, and we can see his impact in Cross River State. There've been a lot of reports. Not good reports anyway, from then, and he's returning back to the Senate. Now we're in another party. In another party, yeah, in another party. We are asking ourselves, I thought this politics is supposed to be all about humanity, getting the system right, provide infrastructures, social amenities, everything that we need. Okay, if you have not done well, as a local government chairman, as a councillor, as a governor, what gives you the right and the people also to bring you up and say, okay, this is still our person, we want to front him to... I don't know how that can actually...
Honestly, because it's almost as if these ambitions of theirs, they have this ambition as if the people do not matter. Like, this is who I am, this is what I want, and I must get it at all costs.
Our politics is commercialized. I said we are suffering from state capture. The people do not matter. The people are not part of the political process. They are not part of the political process. Our elections are highly monetized, commercialized, and the party structures have not been handed over to the people. Is controlled by elite conspiracy. Like the attempt during the Electoral Act to insert direct primaries. If you have direct primaries across all the political spectrum, or the electoral post, what you have is that a party member who is a registered member can go there and vote, can go and vote. You can try to bribe him, but if you are holding like a governorship in a state like Cross River or Akwa Ibom, and then you are bribing people from Ekoripene, from Oron, from Anna, and each of them you must bribe them. Right. You will find it difficult to win. You will find it difficult to coerce the voters, the party members, to support a candidate they naturally will not want on a good day. But if you have direct primaries, what do? The governor or the party hierarchy will handpick three people from political world. They don't just only handpick them, like in the presidential elections. They handpick them, put them in the bus, put them in a hotel, coach them, bombard them with money, and then they get into the context. like in the other case you are citing, he has already been cast out of the race.
Right.
His chief of staff was already with the ticket.
Given
with the ticket. But through political bulldozing and all that, he was able to get his chief of staff to relinquish that position for him to come and run back. So when you discuss Nigerian politics and you try to put the people at the center, the people are not at the center. It is an elite conspiracy, state capture.
All right, let's get back to Mr. Patrick, because I think he has.
I beg to disagree with my my fellow discussants in the sense that he was talking about direct primaries.
All right.
Both systems have their pros and cons.
All right.
The indirect primary has its pros and cons vis-a-vis the direct. But what we're saying is that the issue regarding violence, which is the main issue that we're handling here or we're discussing, I want viewers out there to know that the 2023 elections would be the first election to be held under the 2022 Electoral Act.
Yes.
And it is pertinent to note that this act has made provisions for disorderly behaviors, you know, issues regarding violence during the elections. So I want our viewers there, especially the masses, to know that whoever engages in any violent acts would have himself or herself to blame, because from the provisions of the Electoral Act 2022, you know, there are offenses that you commit that are going to be punishable. You know, offenses regarding disorderly behavior and improper use of voters' cards, destruction of election materials and all that.
Yeah.
And I also want our politicians, especially the leaders, to latch on to this, take a cue from this, and educate their followers that look, it's not going to be business as usual. There's a new sheriff in town in form of the 2022 Electoral Act,
right.
And then they should get a copy, if possible, even make it available, distribute it. I am not speaking for INEC, but as a concerned citizen of Nigeria that wants to see a truly credible, free and fair 2023 election. I think by the time the masses, those who perpetrate these violent acts, know that, look, it's not going to be business as usual, and that those who are caught will have themselves to blame, which may even include imprisonment and all that, I think everybody will key in and ensure.
Well, that is okay. You talk about voters' electorate education, you know, to educate the electorate, educate the masses on what they need to do, because they have a part to play ensuring free and fair election.
Right.
And you're talking about the 2022 Electoral Act as amended. Well, there have been laws in Nigeria. There have been laws in Nigeria. Even though people said, okay, we don't buy to the 1999 Constitution, but there are some sections, there are some clauses in the Constitution that, if they are properly adhered to or allowed to lead or to control the people, we can still have a better governance somehow.
Right.
But I don't know if that would really play out to see, because where crimes, offense is not punishable, is punishable by law but not punishable in practice. By principle is okay, but in practice is not what is there. We'll be going on a short break, and when we return from there, we find out what factors we can actually have in place to give us the free and fair election that we are looking out for. Please don't go away. We'll be back shortly.
Television Nigerian is one of the leading giants in Nigeria's digital broadcasting. We deliver quality productions to clients from all sectors of life. We are experts in program streaming, event coverage, news reporting, adverts, documentaries, personality profiling, skits and jingles. You can advertise now on Television Nigerian network platforms or sponsor programs like The Patriot, Spectacle, Business Daily, Security Dossier, and other programs. To publicize your business from ground state to the zenith, we have the capacity to introduce, promote, and publicize your businesses to increase patronage. We associate with quality to attract clients like you. Television Nigerian is your media solution.
So what do you say? Let's round off now.
All right, it's good to have you back on our program. Running up on our program today, like Lizzie, she's already asking us to do. Well, we have a lot of things we can actually look back to. What actually stopped Nigerians from having free and fair elections? One of the factors that we have is to make sure that, this is really important, this is really good, this is really what we should look out for. We talk about the Electoral Act of 2022, like Mr. Patrick had mentioned. We're finding it difficult to believe that the laws has a part to play in Nigerian democratic system of governance, ensuring free and fair general election comes 2023. Lizzie, I don't know what your take is, because we have the laws in Nigeria, but what happened? We have the leaders, political leaders, who don't really consider the laws, but they just have this kind of mentality of, okay, it has to be my way, and we set the law apart.
Right. Yeah. You know, we have issues with laws in Nigeria.
Right.
It's, and come to think of the fact that it's even the government themselves that break these laws the most. Okay? Yeah, like Mr. Patrick has said, we have the Electoral Act, which is going to play out this time, which has never been done, you know, before in our previous elections. Well, let's hope and watch and see how it plays out. Let's hope that they are really going to, go according, follow the rules of what the Electoral Act says about violence, and see how people can be brought to book. Because if APC was being yesterday was being accused of violence against the PDP. So if any you don't expect them to accept any such accusation and go persecute or arrest the people that are working in their favor.
Okay, the issue now is you notice that both the judiciary, the executive, the legislatures, there seems to be, relinquishing their power to one organ, which is executive. In other words, they gave the executive so much power that they influence the other organs to act the way it was. When you get to hear the president said, the presidency said. So these are some of the things we also look out for. Well, looking at all these, I really like Mr. Paul to see if you can give us an idea of what this will play out, having the 2022 Electoral Act amended, and what we should be expecting, ensuring free and fair election.
The Electoral Act is a very critical instrument that is supposed to assist Nigeria to have a very free and fair elections and peaceful elections. We ought to have moved from those brigandish elections that were conducted previously into sane elections where nobody's harassing anybody, no intimidation, no killing, no obstruction, no suppression of any form. But the challenge you have is that most, like it has always been pointed out, the state itself is not neutral. The institutions, the democratic institutions, often want to be partisan. In the course, the security agencies often are partisan. And then you also have part of the security always want to act in accordance with the state, that with political class who give them directive, not on the basis of the law of the land that is expected to triumph on the day of election or during the conduct of any general elections. So those are the challenges we will have. The questions we need to ask is, will the security agencies be neutral? Will INEC be neutral? Will INEC staff not abuse the process? Will the security agencies washed by white talks and uchins disrupt elections, create crisis, conflict, or will they allow opportunity where some political actors who do not feel well with a particular process will attack their opponent? These are the issues, the challenges we have. But the beavers itself, the beavers and the electoral act itself, is going to set the template for peaceful election, for an election that cannot be manipulated in the real sense. So that's why I've always been hinting on the fact that the 2023 general elections, where we will have challenges, is voter suppression. Some political actors sending talks to go and disrupt a particular polling process where they don't have an upper hand, and so on and so forth. I think these are the challenges we will have, but they are surmountable. The security agencies can come out and say, this 2000 election is very critical to our nationhood. We must do the right thing. The INEC itself can come out and say, we have to stay neutral. We have to stay focused on our tax, on our constitutional tax. That will go a long way in fostering credible and free elections.
Do you have confidence in these beavers that they are going to function well?
From the record I have, from the process that have been displayed, I have confidence that the beavers, if implemented, is going to work. But my challenge with the beavers is the fact that beavers have been tested in Edo, they have been tested in Delta, tested in Osun, tested in Ekiti, and Anambra as well. In Anambra, there were some hiccups at the early stages and some other challenges. Those challenges were quickly addressed. But I have a challenge with beavers and INEC in the sense that beavers has not been test run anywhere in the north. So that, you know, remember in 2015 elections when they brought in the card readers. Card readers were working in some part of the country, and most part of the north, they were not working. They were thrown away.
They were not implemented.
They were not implemented. So these are issues we need to look at. We should set this record straight and call INEC to order. We need to be guaranteed. In fact, my recommendation for this 2000 election is that we need to test run the technology that INEC is going to put in place. We need to have a neutral body. I'm even suggesting that the European Union or the UN should be enabled. They should be brought forward to test these instruments, technological instruments that are going to be used in conduct of election, so that we will have the proof that they are well in order. And not when we get to the election day, we'll be hearing stories and all those kind of things. Yes. Those things are open room for manipulation, for rigging and all that. So, in as much as I have confidence in the process and beavers in delivering credible elections, I'm also suspicious of the fact that will INEC be transparent in the implementation and the rolling out of beavers across the 36 states of the Federation and FCT.
That's really important. Right. It's really important. We need to. Before you come in, you talk about the security. How many polling units do we have in the country?
As at the last count, what I have is that we have elections are going to be held in 1,491 constituencies.
Right.
Made up of 1 presidential constituency, 28 governorship elections. Right. Then you have 109 senatorial districts, 360 federal constituencies,
right,
and then 993 state constituencies. So it's quite a huge Herculean task.
Now, you know why I asked that question? Because we're looking at the security agency now. Where are we going to get security from? Because how many police do we have in the country? Now, how many of these guys will be able to focus on, just like what Mr. Paul actually said now, we want to have that democratic process where will not be interfered by hoodlums or anyone. We want to get it right at this time, and that is why he's calling on the Western Union to make sure that they need to implement whatever they have to, and we also need to test run the technology available, not just getting to that day and they say, okay, the thing packed up and we can't do anything with that.
But really, if these beavers have not been test run in every geopolitical zone, the north, to check their performance, then it's an error.
To correct a view,
right.
The beavers were deployed in the Osun and the Ekiti elections. And to the best of my knowledge, I am not a spokesman for INEC.
Right.
I didn't hear of any malfunctioning. If there were instances, maybe they were, you know, in very infinitesimal ratios. Right. I think, like I said earlier, the civilian kind of democracy, the Western democracy that we're practicing, is not homegrown. It's a system that is imported, in quotes. And even in the Western countries, that's where we got this from, they still have their hiccups. They have their challenges. Right. So what we need to do is to continue to work on it until we reach a perfectionist state. The issues that we have been having regarding all these, lack of implementation of laws. When I was talking about the Electoral Act, you said that we have laws that Nigeria is not bereft of laws. But what we need actually is the political will to implement these laws. And happily, the INEC chairman has come out to tell us that he is willing to leave a legacy. He's going to bequeath a legacy to posterity, and that he is going to make sure that the bimodal voters yes, beavers are going to be deployed. If he could do that, I'm sure at the end of the day he would have, you know, written his names in the sands of time. And then also we talked earlier about voter education. It is also pertinent to note that the judiciary, which is also a key player, has gone ahead to set up members of the election tribunal. You know, I think kudos should go to the Chief Justice of Nigeria, Justice Olukayode Ariwola, who has sworn in 19 electoral, who has sworn in 307 members of the judiciary who constitute the election petition tribunal. You would agree with me that this is in pursuant to section 285 subsections 2 and 3 of the 1999 amended constitution, and section 130 of the Electoral Act, that it is the duty of the President of the Court of Appeal to set up the election tribunal. This has been done, and the CJN has already constituted members of the election tribunal.
Let me remind you.
I believe we are. Okay,
let me remind you of something. Earlier this week, we had a report, and that the tribunal is having over 600 cases pending. Now, if that is what I just mentioned to you, that if the Constitution, if the laws we have in place is what we focus on to have a free and fair election, then I'll still be afraid of the system that is not going to work. I'm just asking if there's something we can do differently to have this process a smooth ride on this to 2023.
There have been thoughts, there have been suggestions for the establishment of a National Electoral Offences Commission. You know, as at the last time, I think the bill was in the National Assembly. I don't know how far they've gone with it. But I think, like I said, we just have to make do with what we have. There are 3 tiers of government. The judiciary is doing its part, like I've just enumerated some of the activities of the judiciary. The swearing in of the election tribunal members, setting up of the tribunal itself by the President of the Court of Appeal. And then what we need to do now is to implore the National Assembly. I don't think that is going to be possible within the remaining period of this administration. But perhaps the incoming National Assembly might take up that, to see that Nigeria has a National Electoral Offences Commission. That should go a long way in taking care of some of these outstanding cases that we have.
Okay. Rabi Okwankwaso had come out to say that he's not so desperate about becoming a president. A lot of desperation we see among these presidential candidates, to the extent that some of them claim that it's their right, it is their turn to rule, forgetting that it's not just for them to decide that it's their turn. Do the people want you? Do Nigerians, are you the choice that Nigerians want? So what role is this kind of desperation going to play in getting a free and fair election?
It's every politician, mostly in our climes, they are always, most of them are desperate. It's an act of desperation that pushes them to engage in all forms of political hooliganism and even thuggery. But I think it is left for the citizens to drop back a little and assert themselves at the ballot. Every politician everywhere, in America, everywhere, every politician wants to grab power. The essence of politics to most people is to win elections and grab power. So you do everything, you do and undo to get that power. But it's left for the citizens, the voters themselves, to assert themselves, to determine who they actually want. It's not about the politician coming out to say, this is what I want to be, it's my turn, or it is our people's turn, or all that. It is left for the voters to assert themselves at the ballot and secure. So what we just need is, we just need the institutional framework to protect, shield, and guide the people in fulfilling that democratic right of deciding who they want actually. But it left for the politicians, they can go to war to grab power.
Okay.
But it's always the voters and the institutions. That's why, like we have always been pointing out, the human nature is cut across globally, is everywhere. But in most advanced democracies, the institutions of states, the national security apparatus, the democratic institutions like the Electoral Commission, the police, the judiciary, the press, the media, are the body institutions that always protect despots, autocrats, from asserting themselves on the system. So until we are able to get to that point where the people can say no, can firmly assert themselves and say, this is who we vote, they will vote, their mandate is protected, their vote is protected, we will continue to face this situation.
Okay. There is no doubt that Nigerian politics is still largely primordial in nature. You have politics of ethnicism, religion, and what have you. And what I alluded to earlier as politics of stomach infrastructure. The old war horses are not in a hurry to relinquish power.
To retire.
they are not in a hurry. And that is why you have, in one of the political parties, you even have the leader of, the youth leader being an old man. Instead of having a youth to be the youth leader, you have a very elderly man being a youth leader. You see? And we should also factor in the place of the women. You know, I understand that in one of the states you even have a man who is a commissioner for women affairs. Right. You see? Whoa. So you all these are pointers to the fact that the politicians of old, the old war horses, like I want to call them, are not in a hurry to relinquish power. They are not in a hurry. And that's why you have all these cases about age declaration, educational qualifications, falsifications of records and all that. So it behoves on the youth, like I said earlier, to take up the gauntlet, the mantle, and through a non-violent means continue to pursue their ambition. The not too young act is there for them. So they have.
Is it there or is dead?
It's there T-H-E-R-E is there because there for them. Now this is dead. It's not dead.
Okay.
It's there. It has been passed by the National Assembly, so they have something to hold on to. It's just for them to continue to push on. And from experience, most youths tend to have a very short span of time. You find maybe a number of youths may not find it convenient going to queue in the INEC offices to collect their PVCs. We also saw the crisis that almost erupted in some of the INEC offices, where youths had to, bang on doors asking INEC to open the offices so that they could be registered.
Okay, but do you blame the youth?
Right.
Do you blame Nigerian youth?
No,
I'm not trying to insult anything. Do you blame Nigerian youth? Because I'm just thinking, you can imagine that if the youth get into the system to act the way they are acting. And do you know, Mr. Patrick, that presently as we are talking, there are women sitting somewhere to think of what they can do to the system that is not working in their favor. So you can imagine that the youth are up, the women are up, and how the system can be. Do you think it will still be governable to anybody who becomes a leader? That is one thing. And secondly, what do you think should be the responsibilities of the electorate? Should they take up that responsibility and speak up and say, leaders, you guys have been the problem of this country. Now we are up. We want free and fair elections, and that is what we'll get. How can we really take it from here? Because that is really key.
Mr. Patrick,
option, yes,
a while ago you said that the youth have to keep pushing.
Yeah,
so
and it's very
they
important.
Wanted that they came out en masse this year to register like we've never seen before. So all that you saw was because they really wanted to get registered so that they can vote when the time comes.
Registration is one thing,
right? But
getting recognized at the ballots, stamping the authorities on the ballot papers is another thing. It's not just enough for them to say, oh, we have registered. Like
but
I
without
said earlier,
registration, they can't even vote.
No. The point I'm making is that they must push through the process. It's a process.
Yes.
Okay, it's a process. So you have registered, good, and it's commendable. They must make sure that on the day of elections that they leave whatever they are doing, go and stand in the sun, whatever time it takes them, cast their votes, choose their preferred candidates for the various levels of election. Right. Not only just casting their votes, it is also incumbent on them, and the law gives them the power to stay behind after voting, to see that the votes are counted, and then that before they now leave. So it's a process. It's not just going and we have done a part of it.
But I can categorically tell you that this time around the youths are ready to do that.
We are waiting and we are watching, and we wish them all the luck.
Well, I think Mr. Patrick, don't forget that you are still a youth.
Of course.
I don't know how old you are, but I know you are still a youth. From your looks and your eloquency, your intellect is still that of a youth. And I'm just thinking that if we allow things, it's like we're giving so much powers that the Constitution has not given to certain persons that is still robbing us of having free and fair election to decide who becomes who in Nigeria. If we go by the Constitution, even though a lot of people faulting the Constitution, if we go by the Constitution and the provisions made in the Constitution, we also talk about the Electoral Act of 2020. Do you think that can actually form the part of having free and fair election?
Of course.
Okay.
Like I said, the country, Nigeria, does not perish for lack of laws, as to borrow from the biblical saying.
Yeah.
What we perish from is the political will, the will to carry out, to carry out this, to make sure that these laws are executed.
Okay.
Now, the only umpire that will oversee the 2023 election is the INEC chairman.
Right.
And he has assured Nigerians that, look, he has a legacy to bequeath to the country. I think the only thing we don't have any other choice than to believe him. And if he has said that, it's now incumbent on those who should decide, who should determine the future of the country, who should decide who governs them, both at the national, states, and even local government levels. It's left on the youths who have shown so much enthusiasm to make sure that they push through what they have started in the registration part of the exercise. Make sure that they stay, go out on that very day, and forget about their hobbies. Those who like going to the fields to play football to keep fit, those who have businesses to attend to, they should just leave that, sacrifice all that for the day, and then go out, cast their votes, and then after casting their votes, make sure that these votes count. That will leave a lasting legacy on the political future of Nigeria.
All right, thank you so very much. We'll be going on a short break again. When we return from that short break, we'll wrap up on this very program today. Ensuring free and fair election in Nigeria comes 2023 is the key, is the focus that we have. Well, we are asking ourselves a lot of questions, and I need to also define my responsibility towards ensuring free and fair. And the electorate, you as a journalist, a media personality, political leaders, you have a part to play ensuring free and fair election. It's not all about you, it's all about Nigerians. Don't go away, we'll be back shortly.
Your body bang, 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 your body bang. And I give us when you take a selfie, when you take a pose, you the ginger the boy. Every time you bend the low, I'm a girl when you take a selfie, when you take a pose, you the ginger the boy. Every time you bend the low.
Want to shoot a dope music video at 50% discount?
50% discount?
Yeah, 50% discount. Bougie Down to Television Nigerian with world-class equipment and a badass expert crew.
Oga, face your camera now. Shh. Continue.
Where was I? Everything extra.
Carolina, you bad.
All right, it's good to have you back on our program, Daybreak Africa on Television Nigeria. Looking at some of the matters raised here today towards ensuring free and fair election comes 2023. These are democratic foundations that we need to really look up to. Well, this is a democratic system of governance. It's not meant to be militarized, and having the kind of approach some of our leaders are having today. And we call on every Nigerian, most especially the electorate, you can decide the future of Nigeria. Lizzie, so far we've discussed a lot on this. I don't know what is your mindset towards some of the institutions we have that would have been of help towards ensuring free and fair election, that they've not been able to work to the satisfaction of Nigerians. At least we have few of them, and also they are just working for individuals instead of working for Nigerians.
Yeah, you have then pointed them out, the security operatives. They shouldn't be partisan.
Right.
Okay, they should be there during elections. Their duty is to ensure that the election holds and there is peace, that is flowing well. That of course their presence is supposed to prevent ballot snatching,
That's right.
electoral or election electoral malpractice, election crisis, and all that. Knowing that for the electorate to come out to a polling booth to vote, knowing that there are security operatives there to protect them, to prevent havoc, things from happening, to scare them away. It's encouraging. Right. When they know that there are security in place, and they'll like you said, the youth. I can categorically tell you that the youth are ready. They are ready to come out to vote. Not just what we saw. Yes, from what we saw during the voters registration. Well, yeah, it was very impressive. We had never seen such before in the history. Yeah, though several times I told you I had taken My son he had not been registered. He had gotten to that age. In fact, two of my kids, I took them to INEC like 3 times to register. But unfortunately, the queue was almost stampede. We woke up, for you to know, we woke up as early as 5 a.m. By the time we got there, the queue was already something else. We waited in the sun. It's not that they told me. I was there with my kids 3 times. At the end of the day, they couldn't register. Okay. So there were lots like that, but some succeeded. And I can categorically tell you that this time around, they will go out there, they will vote, they will cast their votes, and they will remain to ensure that their votes are counted, because we want a positive change in Nigeria.
That sounds great.
Right.
Mr. Paul, we're looking at some of these institutions in place that would have been of help to the system, to the process, for us to really have a democratic process right and having a free and fair election comes. I don't know what will be your final thoughts on the segment as a whole.
Okay. The 2023 election are very critical to the Nigerian state.
Right.
Our statehood, nation building, how we are able to accept ourselves among Committee of Nations globally. And the elections are so critical in the sense that there is a binary struggle in the social structure of the country. A few elites have hijacked the country for nearly 62 years of the existence of this country. And there is a push, a backlash, a push by the youth to take over the country, to take back their country.
Right.
And set the country on the terms and tunes that are expected of the country in terms of sane democracy, economic growth and development, the well-being and the welfare of the masses, and security of all and sundry. So in that sense, every Nigerian citizen is expected to play his or her critical role. The challenge we've always had is that in the institutions, nobody can deny the fact that there's an elite conspiracy to keep this country aground, to ensure that only few people get access to power, and they use that power to oppress people, to derail the developmental strides that Nigeria is supposed to be pursuing. We're not facing development. We are facing personal agenda, tribal agenda, religious agenda, big man agenda, strong man politics. Those are the things we are facing. So the institutions of state, like the security, the Independent National Electoral Commission itself, must set the tune this time around, must veer from the trajectory of that state capture that those institutions are used to perpetuate operation of the Nigerian state. I'm not against anybody, but I see this election as very critical to our moving forward or moving backward in perpetuity. So let's wait and see. But like the security agencies, the army, the police, the civil defense, and other sister agencies must be non-partisan. INEC must not give the citizens, the voters, the idea or choice that it has not been neutral in the dispensation of its duty. So these are the aspects
Okay, let's get to find out from Mr. Patrick. The
statistics from INEC reveal that as at 1st of August 2022, there were 10,487,972 fresh registrants. Those who complete the male registrants were 6,774,078. with females 6,224,886. Even persons with disabilities, 87,000, and then youths over 8,784,677 youths. So this is very impressive. For the first time in national life, in regarding registration, voters registration, this is the first time we're recording such a massive turnout of youths. And like I said earlier, it is not yet Uhuru, as they say. where youths, while commending them, must make sure that the various elections that we have, first starting with the presidential and national assembly elections, 25th February 2023, they should mark that date in their calendars. They must be out there in their various voting polling units and cast their vote for their preferred candidates. Then the governorship and state elections, 11th March 2023, they should also be there to cast their votes. If they can do this, I'm sure we all should be smiling that yes, at last we have been able to.
We're getting it right.
We're getting there, getting towards. We'll be able to at least elect into office our preferred candidates, and that will go down in the annals of the history of this country.
Okay, please, let me just add something.
Right.
When INEC started conducting voters registration, they told the whole country that by October they will start issuing voters card. As we speak, out of the 9 million voters that have been registered, INEC have not started issuing those voters card. And we are in November, they have not started issuing those voters card. When you call, they will tell you they will send text to people who have registered. That is a form of, that's an indication that things might not go well. The best thing INEC has to do at this critical juncture is to start issuing the voters card to the respective people that registered for voters. Otherwise, this is an indication that things might not go well for the election. People that registered for their voters card, the PVC, need to be given their PVC ahead of time.
Well,
thank you.
That is really important because that is coming in a bit late anyway. We need to trash on that because if INEC said, okay, they're going to issue the voters cards to the electorate by October. This is November.
This is November.
And there is no information as such coming out again. And of course, we're hearing different statements, issuing a different statement, how prepared they are for 2023 general election. It's like we're still going back to the same narratives again.
But they should begin that preparedness by giving out.
By giving out, because it's not just let your actions match your words.
Exactly.
Let your action match your words. Well, we don't know what is going to happen after this week, but we look forward to having this great revolution in our processes and see how Mr. Patrick believes so much that the youth are out, and we're looking forward to see the government also acknowledging that the youth are part of the system and they should. All right, thank you so much, Mr. Patrick. Thank you, Mr. Paul, for coming out to be part of this program.
Thank you, it's a pleasure.
All right, Lisbeth, what is your final word to your viewers?
Well, ensure that you get your PVCs when INEC decides to release them. Then on that day of election, just like all our guests have said, come out there, vote, wait, and ensure that your vote counts. Thank you.
Okay, viewers, thank you so much for staying with us on this program. Please, if you have not been able to process your voter's card, go out there and get it. INEC, please issue out the cards to those who have processed theirs. Thank you so much for staying with us. I'm Keisha Onye, looking forward to seeing you again tomorrow for another fresh edition. Bye.